Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up on a small family dairy farm just outside of Sheboygan.
Okay.
Youngest of 4 kids, and we knew how to work hard and make sure every dollar counted. I went to a small community college in Sheboygan for my first year and worked at Bemis Manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
At that point, I was helping, I was working on making plastic flower pots and toilet seats and John Deere tractor hoods.
Okay.
That was an interesting experience, and I worked third shift while going to school there. From there, I went to Stevens Point and got a degree in watershed management. I met my husband there, so my years at Stevens Point are very fond.
Neat.
And I ended up getting my master's there as well in natural resources. While I was at Stevens Point, I had the opportunity to take a summer internship in Idaho, working for the U.S. Geological Survey. And that is where I discovered the joy of working as a public servant. I got to go out into the wilderness and look at rivers and streams and the aquatic communities, and was able to just, while enjoying what I was doing, serve the American public by making sure we have clean water to drink.
A little bit about your career.
Yeah, so after that first summer in Idaho, I continued with the USGS, and I ended up working as an aquatic biologist since 2001, and I've sampled streams from California to New York, from Florida to Washington.
And who was this with? What organization?
It was all with the U.S. Geological Survey.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Yep.
Now you are no longer with them.
I'm not.
And how did that come about?
Well, about 2020, I became a supervisor in our office, and then I became deputy director of the 3-state office that I worked for, and it covered Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin, 230 employees, 13 facilities, and I was the operations officer. I oversaw a budget of $33 million that federally appropriated, and helped with hiring and all of the administrative tasks, because we were missing an administrative officer at the time. When this administration came in the beginning of 2025, we began getting emails about how the federal workforce was lazy and we were drains on society.
From whom did you get these?
They were coming from hr.gov, which is not actually a department in the federal government. They weren't coming from our like human resources section. If it would have come from somebody, it should have been coming from the Office of Personnel Management, but it was coming from hr.gov. And
wow.
Yeah, yes, it was all in the attempt at government efficiency, and the claim was that they were going to save money, but all I saw was folks in the administration enjoying belittling people, telling employees who dedicated decades of their life that they weren't worthy. Again, I love serving the American public. I've been doing it for 25 years. It has been a passion to serve people my whole life. From Girl Scouts and brownies to church groups and other community activities. My love language is serving others. I love helping others. I love cooking for others. I love making people feel fulfilled.
How did you deal with that?
Well, after the second offer of the deferred resignation, I decided that I was going to take it, and that I wasn't going to put up with being bullied. So I took the deferred resignation and vowed that when I was no longer considered a federal employee on October 1st, I was going to run for Congress.
6th?
Yes, I'm running for Congress in the 6th Congressional District
of Wisconsin.
Of Wisconsin. Our current representative is Glenn Grothman.
Okay. All right, tell me what are the issues that you feel are most important?
So
Thank
I
you.
want to focus on three main things. First, the economy. And what that means to me is that we have people that are working so hard at a full-time job that are having trouble paying their rent, that are having trouble buying groceries. I know how it feels. I've been there. I've had to work 2 jobs in college to make sure that I could buy groceries and pay my rent. And it's hard. And I don't think that anybody should have to work full-time and still not able to have the opportunity to get ahead. Because
So
there's
what-
no doubt in my mind people are hardworking.
Oh, definitely. So what would you do to ease that?
I would really love to help raise the federal minimum wage. I think that the corporations that are keeping the federal minimum wage low, they're using slave labor at this point, and that breaks my heart because expecting somebody to make a living on $7.50 is not realistic. And then we have the housing issues where the corporations are buying up these houses and then they're able to charge rent that they can set and determine, but they've completely, taken over the entire housing market in towns. So it's impossible for people to even buy a house. So the next thing I'm really passionate about is the environment. Having worked for the USGS for so long, working in thousands of different streams across our country makes me realize just how incredibly valuable our natural resources are. We need to protect them. We need to make sure that corporations aren't destroying our natural resources, because right now all they're using them is for their own good. These natural resources belong to everyone, and we need to make sure that they're preserved and available for generations to come. So, the next thing that I really want to focus on is education. Since I've left the federal service, I've been substitute teaching at 3 rural school districts across Columbia County. What I'm noticing is that these schools are struggling. They're doing their best to make sure the kids are getting the best education that they can. But a lot of the funding is going to either voucher schools, or they're going to other things that don't directly help the schools. We've got schools in parts of our district that are closing because the taxes aren't being allocated to the education. And by dismantling the Department of Education and the standards that are required, we are not giving our future generations the groundwork that they need to be successful. And I've taught from AP chemistry and literature all the way down to kindergarten and special ed. So I've seen the gamut at this point, and it's only been a few months.
Wow.
So
amazing.
Yeah.
So good education for you.
Yes. It's a new chapter, but it's incredible, and it really makes me understand how hard our teachers are working to try to make sure that they are doing everything they can for the students.
Sure.
And that's I think why that part of education is so important to me.
So you've got a few other people running for the position.
I do, yes.
How do you feel you compare, or what do you feel puts you ahead of them in terms of your qualifications?
Yes, so I appreciate having all of the other Democrats running for the race. I think each of us brings a unique perspective. My perspective of having grown up on a farm, having been very active in federal service, I've worked with people in agencies from the EPA to the Department of Transportation to NASA to Department of Energy. And I've also worked with international partners. I was on committees with the International Joint Commission from Canada. I've worked with many tribal liaisons and tribal representatives that I think my ability to have worked across the aisle, regardless of political affiliation, gives me an advantage to know how to work with those agencies.
When you say, and I think that sounds great, and you say you're working across the aisle, it's good, because our area, we're about at a 60-40 split, and the Democrats are not the 60.
Right.
How do you propose winning in that environment?
Yes. So one of the things that my goal is I want to listen to people. I've never seen a meeting end well when somebody walks into the room saying, you know what, I know exactly what you need. It never ends well, ever. So if we walk into a conversation with that, the heart of listening, the heart of collaboration, and wanting to know I want to meet folks where they are. I want to know what they're feeling. What are their concerns? What are the things that they think are going well? So I've always asked, when I was a supervisor, I asked my employees 3 questions. What am I doing right that I should keep doing? What am I doing wrong that I need to stop? And then what am I not doing that I need to start doing? Because as a supervisor, they don't work for me. I work for them to make sure that they have what they need. And I want to bring that sense of service, sense of responsibility, and sense of working for the people back to the 6th District, because that is not what we have right now. When I became a federal employee, I swore an oath to the Constitution, not to a single person, not to an administration. And I have served on many administrations at this point, over 25 years. It didn't matter who was in the Oval Office. What mattered is that we were serving the American people. And if I can bring that to Congress, that feeling of service, that responsibility to hold my oath of office, I think that is going to be the best way that I can represent the 6th.
But if you're running as a Democrat, I mean, wouldn't you give preference? I mean, isn't it your obligation to the Democratic Party to, favor your party rather than favoring, maybe Republicans or independents?
Well, my personal beliefs align very well with the Democratic Party. That is why I do consider myself and am a registered Democrat. However, I understand that in the 6th District, I'm not the majority. So that's why I do want to meet people where they are. I want to listen and I want to represent everyone. So.
And how would you, let's say you win the primary and it's Amanda all the way.
All right.
Okay. How are you going to, how do you differentiate yourself from Glenn Grothman? How would you gain the upper hand there?
So I think one of the things that sets me apart from Glenn Grothman a lot is I'm not afraid of actually having tough conversations. My family is relatively conservative, and I have conversations with them as well. So I listen to where they're coming from. When I have had interactions with Glenn, and I've had several, I've actually talked to him about urging him not to vote on the bill that was passed earlier this summer. And instead of actually having the conversation with me, he literally turned and walked away. And that's not what a representative should do. I want to hear from all of the people across the district. I'm not a wilting flower that's going to be like, oh, you disagree with me, I'm going to just walk away. And I think that's the most important thing. I think that's...
But you understand, I mean,
oh, yeah.
There's a lot of, the way things are right now, there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of, plain old nastiness.
Right. One of the things that I think is really important is that every single person has a connection to every other person. There's one tie that's going to bind us, whether that be, love of education, love of the outdoors, love of, reading. It's going to be something, understanding the rural communities, understanding that, understanding that we all are just people and we're all just trying to make our lives okay. And, if I can bring and find that thread to the folks that I'm representing, that's the best I can do. And that's what I'm going to strive to do.
Okay.
I have a fun little story. One time, we were out in the Appalachian Mountains and we were doing reconnaissance for some streams. We had to go out and make sure that we would be able to sample them. And I was with a gentleman from DC. We come up on a group of hunters and they've got their guns out and they've got a bunch of dogs. And the gentleman I was with was like, oh, we gotta go. And I said, why? And he goes, Amanda, they have guns. And I said, yes, they're hunting. I'm like, park the car, give me a minute. I get out and I said, good afternoon, gentlemen. I absolutely love your coonhounds. I love the walker. My parents had walker coonhounds when I was growing up. Beautiful animals. We have to just sneak by you quick. Is it okay if we just get by on this road? And they were like, absolutely. You have a wonderful day, ma'am. And I got back in the car. They scooched their vehicle over. There was no need to fear them. Just because of what they were doing, there's no need to fear people. I want to make sure that is the kind of interaction that I have with people. I'm going to meet them where they're at. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to find that tie that binds us. And I'm going to, see if we can work together to come to the resolution that we need to.
Sure. So, other than streams, what do you like to do with the outdoors?
So, I enjoy hunting. My husband is an avid hunter and fisherman. Our first date was a fishing trip on the Wisconsin River.
No better place.
No better place. He often says that those are the best 4 years of fishing of his life at Stevens Point. My daughter is in Scouts, so we love to go camping. And just, we have a small farmette. We have goats I have 9 goats that I was fluffing hay for this morning, making sure that they've got plenty of feed in this chilly air. But I think I love being outside. Being around water, being outside is really recharges my soul. So,
Neat.
yeah.
There's been a lot of talk lately, and particularly in the forest area, about these data centers.
Yes.
Are you aware of them? Do you have thoughts on them?
I actually attended the city council meeting after they had voted for the AI data center in Port Washington. My concern with these data centers is that by them coming in, that they're not utilizing the resources that we have appropriately. The amount of energy that they're taking, based on the U.S. Department of Energy data, they're projected to use 12% of the total energy produced across America by 2028. And my fear is that we're going to put a lot of effort into it. The communities that already have them are not happy with the bill of goods that they were sold. And I don't really want to say to my daughter that I didn't stand up and say, hey, this is not a good idea. My whole career was research. So I'm going to dig into the data. I'm going to dig into the peer-reviewed articles that I know are not coming from the fox in the henhouse. Because I'm not always trusting the data that the companies that are building these AI data centers are doing, because for the most part, they can make their data say whatever they want. They have AI.
Right.
So, but the AI bubble, I'm I fear that it's going to burst like the dot-com bubble, like the housing bubble. And we're going to be left with pollution. We're going to be left with giant facilities that promised the world and delivered a mess.
But on the other hand, they're talking, and you had mentioned, the jobs and the jobs that they would bring. How do you balance those two?
Yeah, so again, looking at the data that they've already, in areas that they've already built these, there's a small boom of construction jobs that are, that come when they're doing the building. Unfortunately, a lot of those construction jobs are not local. They're bringing people in to do that construction. Many of them are not union, so they don't have their union protections. And being a Democrat, I really want to strive to make sure that we've got good paying union jobs. But then once the facility is built, there's really not that much human interaction. And now we've also built more AI, which will take in more jobs away from journalists, from writers, from artists, from a plethora of careers of people that have been dedicating their lives to their craft.
That was, you took the words out of my mouth. My next question would be, once these are built, my understanding is with AI, it's not to make, ChatGPT more friendly. How would you deal with that as an elected representative and protect jobs?
I think we need to look into how the corporations are actually, how they're utilizing. They've gotten so many tax breaks in the locations that they're building that are taking away from the communities, right? If they're not paying the same amount of taxes that the individual property owners are paying, they're getting all these benefits, and they're taking jobs, and they're using our resources. I think that we need to come up with some legislation that requires them to put back and repay the communities that they're using, basically. How that legislation looks, I'm not sure how we build that to make sure we're keeping up with the technology development, but I really believe that we need to make sure that we're not just lining the pockets of these multi-billionaire corporations.
But you're a researcher, so
I'm a researcher.
You may not have the answer now, but
I'm ready to dig in and do the data analysis.
We're in a farming state, and with the tariffs and the realignment with China and some of the other things that have happened this year, the markets have basically dropped out for a lot of our farmers. Thoughts on how to deal with that, how to rebuild?
Yeah. I think that farming is one of the industries that needs to have a lot of attention paid to it. Farmers are the only industry that have to purchase their goods to make their products at retail value, and then are required to turn around and sell their products at wholesale.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that, yeah.
Because farmers aren't getting a break on their fertilizer. They're not getting a break on their fuel. They have to pay retail. And then they put so much effort, so much hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into creating their produce and their products, and then they have to sell it at wholesale. Why is the government control over the prices that farmers can sell their goods at so overarching? There is no other industry that the government has that much say in. And if we actually speak to the farmers, we give them the opportunity to create their markets and work across countries, across the United States. I actually think that farming can be a profitable business instead of having them feeling like they're struggling all the time. There's some instances where corn is up in some some pockets of the US, and 3 cents higher than last year. But in general, 3 cents a bushel is not going to pay the huge increase in fuel costs or the higher tariffs that are coming from fertilizer. So I think we also need to look at restructuring how much pull the federal government has over farmers.
One other word I hear a lot, particularly when it comes to Democrats, our Republican friends or former Republican friends really have a lot of fight when it comes to dealing with the administration or voicing their concern about the administration. There's been a hue and a cry about the lack of fight in the Democratic Party. How would you address that?
Well, I am a strong, independent woman. And I don't know about your wife, but when I'm frustrated, when mom's upset, I get stuff done. And I feel like this administration took my passion for my job away. So this is now personal. I am not happy. And when mom's not happy, stuff's gonna get done.
Okay.
So,
You will have to maintain that for a long, there's a lot to be unhappy about.
oh yes. Well, I will say that I am a very determined person. This is not the first time that I've been up against a wall. It's not the first time that I've been the only woman in the race. I have persevered. I have gotten selected for the positions that people didn't think I could do. And I strived. I achieved everything that I set out to do. So this is my next goal, and I am determined to not quit until I reach my goal.
Anything else you want to say?
I just want to say I really appreciate taking the time to talk with me. I've lived all of my life except my college years in the district, and this is home to me.